Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. On Apple, recommend Apple Podcasts. On Android, we recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Plenty of Dolphins content, Messi and Inter Miami content. We've got everything on there. So make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, even though we prefer that you listen to the podcast in other places. Also, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Put down your 5, get your 50 to play right away. WNBA, baseball, and more. I'm playing some MMA tonight, even though I don't know what I'm doing, but they gave us a discount. Check that out as well. You can play soccer on there. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. Get your 50 to play right away. And now, today's episode.
Mercy. Luxurious. Heat Nation. Yeah. Mercy and Lago. Down to Biscayne. Yeah. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars. Wearing bubble frogs. Down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, inspire, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. It's August. We're not supposed to be having this level of transaction. I've got Digital Adel. You can follow him at Digital Adel. We're going to do a quick episode today. Dru Smith is back. 3-year contract. Do we know at the moment if the last 2 years are guaranteed? Because I'm seeing we're literally just ripping and running here. Like I haven't seen it. Okay, I have seen some reports that they're not fully guaranteed. So we have to wait to see how that plays out. But it's a 3-year contract for $7 million total, reported by Shams Charam. I can never pronounce Shams' name. Shams from ESPN. And so Dru Smith is going to be back. And I'll just start here. First thing, credit to our Major Passons, who has been banging the Dru Smith drum for a while, talking about how far ahead of rehab he was. I'll say this, though, okay? We love you, Major. And if you were available today, you'd be here in the seat instead of Adele, and I'd be giving you your props, but you're not. But also, I mean, anybody could have predicted this. And let's just go back. 2 years ago, Dru Smith works his way into Eric Spoelstra's sight lines. And I believe at the time, this is pre-Rozier, right? Yes. So this is pre-Rozier. Yes. He works his way in there, pre-Davion Mitchell, obviously. Then he gets hurt because of that crappy court in Cleveland, right? So he blows out his ACL. And I tweeted that day, he'll be back. Spo loves him. Okay.
Right.
Then let's fast forward to last year. Last year, you know, it looked like he probably wouldn't have a rotation spot of any kind, working back from injury. Again, ACL is a traumatic injury, not what it used to be. But then he starts playing and he plays well, not just defensively, but he took care of the ball. He made open shots, and he went from a guy who Heat fans were like, "Oh, we don't. Why does Spo like him?" to a fan favorite pretty quickly, actually, over like a 3 to 4 week span. I thought he was going to start at one point because it looked like Spo was moving in that direction. And then he has an even more traumatic injury. He tears his Achilles. And at that point, it was, oh, he's done. And I literally tweeted that night, he'll be back. And the reason I thought he'll be back is, A, he's an extraordinarily hard worker. Okay. They don't seem to care about him being an advanced age for a quote unquote prospect, which is something I want to talk to you about. And the other part of this is, again, Eric Spoelstra loves him, like just does, like he has from the beginning. And even when people in the Heat front office at the very beginning of this whole Dru Smith thing did not know what Spo saw in him, Spo said, well, you guys didn't see what I saw in Gabe either. Give it some time. So I'll just start with this. I'm happy for Dru because he seems to be a quality person who has dealt with ridiculous amount of adversity, and he's put himself back in this position. Now, Haywood Highsmith, also a good person who put himself in a good position, was traded to get under the luxury tax, and then this move happens right afterwards. So this is the 14th roster spot. They still have one left. They are still under the tax. We'll see if they fill the 15th. Kai Jones, as far as we know, well, we do know he's in Nicaragua right now, training with the Bahamian team. I don't think that's dead, so let's continue to watch it. But I don't know if there's going to be a particular hurry. But I'll just put it this way: Heat fans are. It's funny, they swing wildly on this stuff. At ones on Twitter, they did not like Dru at all. Then they started to love Dru. Now what I'm seeing on Twitter is, why are they re-signing Dru Smith? Where do you stand with this?
So from the Miami Heat fan perspective, I can understand where they're coming from, because Dru Smith, although he was a nice player for them last season, and he was a nice surprise. And whenever I say a surprise, for the first 3 years of his career, he didn't shoot higher than 30.8% from three for his entire career prior to the past 2 seasons. And he's worked himself into a competent 3-point shooter, where the previous season he averaged 41%, or his percentage was 41.2% from three. And then before he got injured, in the 14 games that he played, it was 53.3% from three. Like, so he was really showing some promise to be able to not be a liability on offense, and to be able to take care of the ball and turn it over. And when you see some efficiency, I mean, it's a stark contrast to what you saw from Terry Rozier.
Okay, and that's true. But now let's look at the guard room. Okay. And first thing, we don't know when Dru's going to be back healthy. And I think Greg has been voicing this on our chats and on our Discord, if you're following off the floor, like, why do they have to do this now? So that's something that I'm going to try to get to the bottom of. Like, how healthy is he? Did they feel like they could only trade Highsmith into the Nets cap space now? So they had to make that move, get under the tax. They weren't going to waive and stretch Fontecchio. It doesn't seem like they've got an August 29th deadline on that. So just do it all at once. I mean, look, when they traded Highsmith, I said one of two things is going to happen with this spot. They're either going to give it to Kai Jones, or if they really like the workout, or they're going to give it to Dru Smith. Like, it was pretty clear that's what's going to happen. But we thought it was possible they could give it to someone like Kai Jones and hold the spot for Dru, the 15 spot, until he's healthy. And then you're accumulating less salary against all of your various thresholds by just paying him later. So they must feel, he's close to being back, which would be remarkable. Well, now here's get back kills. He's not a guy who relies on quickness. So I don't think this is, but are you concerned, and then we'll get to the guard room, are you concerned, because I think you've mentioned this before, about lateral quickness on defense? Offense, I don't care about. Ball up the court and spot up. You're concerned about it on defense.
I am. And the thing about this, I mean, even though he doesn't rely on quickness and burst, I mean, he is a defender first. Like, he is on the court for point of attack defense. And if you can't be able to move laterally and contain some of the most explosive guards in the league, I don't know what his role and fit would be on the team. Because as much as you like Dru, once we start talking about the guard room, it's going to be slim pickings if he can't play defense on why you would put him out there over some of the other guys, especially if you want to develop guys and you want to see how they're going to be able to play alongside one another, how they're going to be able to grow. And while we were talking, I did look, and Anthony Chang did report that it's a 3-year, 7.9 fully guaranteed deal. So
wow.
It's 7.9
so
fully guaranteed.
I don't know where the other reports came from. This is where I got to wait. They guaranteed it. It's not a lot of money. No. It's easily movable. So that's not a concern. I mean, it's under $3 million a year. And you basically got him. You basically got him in a minimum deal. They've done this kind of deal before. They did it with Kendrick Nunn. They did it with. They do this deal a lot. They do it sometimes at the very end of the season. They did that with Nunn. I guess here's where I could see. Okay, you look at the guards right now. We think that Powell's going to start with Hero.
Yes.
We also think that Davion, who brings you those defensive chops that Dru is bringing, shot the ball very well, is a quicker, I think, more creative player with higher upside than Dru, who they're paying $12 million a year to also. So they're paying him almost basically 4 times as much per season. So he's going to get minutes. He's going to play 30 plus, right? It sounds to me, like, we're not going to see a lot of Hakachonis, right? And I at least at first. And it also seems to me, well, Rozier we knew. I mean, this just cements it, right? Like, I mean, I mean, I don't think they're even going to be trying to rebuild shareholder value here. It seems like that's just a lost because I thought there was going to be a Terry Rozier day in training camp where Spo
You
comes
did.
out and is like, wow, Terry worked really hard this offseason. He's put all this stuff behind him. It's a credit to him,
Right.
that he's taken all the slings and arrows and he's he looks great. I thought there was going to be one day everybody would write about it. We never think about it again. But I don't know if that's even going to happen now. And then but I do think that one thing Spo may do here when Dru's back is have him guard up. Because he
could guard up.
Can he? He's taller than Davion,
Yeah,
right?
he is taller than Davion. He could guard up, but again, it's going to come back. This all boils down to me to lateral agility. Like your Achilles, because playing the point guard versus guarding the shooting guard in today's NBA, those lines are completely blurred unless you have a unicorn point guard, like a Chris Paul or, any of the old school point guards that are going to facilitate first, be super quick. Now they're all big. They can all facilitate. They can all pass. It's all pretty much the same, whether they're the one or the two these days. So it's all going to come back to that for me. I mean, it's fine if he guards up a little bit, but it's not going to really take that much pressure off of his lateral agility. Now, the other question I have for you on this, if they were going to play like a half court defense where he could shade people to help all the time, he could probably survive a little more in that environment. But they're going to look to push the pace this season, just like they tried. Hope. Well, you would think. One would think.
Nevertheless. Yes.
Yeah, one would think they're going to try to push the pace a little bit this season, and they're going to try to be able to run. And you're going to need to not only be able to get out and transition and run, but once you're sprinting back on defense and being on an island, so to speak, by yourself a lot, I just don't know how comfortable I am with that. Now, I do want to preface this. Who else would you sign?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously they're not in a hurry to sign Kai Jones, or they would have done it, right? Okay, right. So there's that, and then Heat fans are going to say, because they just like the name, Westbrook. But Russ. You think Spo wants to deal? You would think Spo wants to deal with that? Like I mean, you talk about entering another player in the mix with bad shot selection. I understand Russ's history, and I respect Russ, and I'm not a Russ hater by any means, but like they're trying to shade out Terry Rozier because of shot selection primarily and forgetting how to play basketball. But like Russ's shot selection, is that really what they want with this team, the way that they're trying to get a flow? So no, but yeah, that's what Heat fans will say, because they're always going to talk about the name. I like Dru. I liked his minutes last year. They were a plus in his minutes. His lineups were good last year when he was playing. But again, that's more traumatic injury than he had last time. So their medical staff must feel really, really good about this, because it's one thing to lean into his work ethic and say he's going to put the work in. It's another to rebuild the actual ligament, or tendon to a place where he can push off of it and do things. And I also know Heat fans, and we'll get to more of this on the other side, are going to say, well, you've been talking about no progress stoppers, and here's a guy, was he 28? He's close to 28, right?
He's 28.
Okay, so he's not a young, so they moved off Highsmith, and we talked about him being a progress stopper, right? The same age.
Right.
And I also think that Highsmith's absence is going to end up having Fontecchio play more, who's 30. So this isn't necessarily leaning to you. I'll say one other thing. They like to reward their guys. We know this. This is not a charity case, so people should stop with that BS, okay? But they like to reward their guys. At the same time, this is also a guy who I think Spo is very comfortable as a team player. And that is a good guy to have on the very end of your bench. I think they know he'll work. He'll put in the time. If he's not part of the regular rotation, Spo can go to him, and he's going to be prepared. He's not going to complain. And he is, in a lot of ways, he's become Eric's security blanket, I think. And I think that's kind of, hold the thought, because we got a little bit more to get to on this. The Heat re-signed Dru Smith for 3 years. By the way, people are asking, he could not have signed a 2-way, so that was not an option. Otherwise, they probably would have done that. All right, here's an option. What do you want to sign? Well, you want to sign a deal for a new house, right? The housing market in South Florida is starting to get tricky. You need to work with experienced professionals. Reach out to Javier and Amanda. Family business, family team. They know what's best for your family. They got open houses every weekend, all the way from Fort Lauderdale all the way out west. Again, you can check them out anytime at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, or Real Estate Shop. That's Real Estate Shop with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com. I put them on this episode because Javier is the single biggest Dru Smith fan I know. And he was on with me early last season and talked about how he thought he'd be a starter eventually. That's before Dru popped, and not popped the Achilles, but popped as a player. And he was right. I mean, Dru played really well last year. All right, what was your thought on the other side? Well, I don't even know what I said, so you get to this.
Well, my thought that I have with this, and this is my only critique and criticism of it, is that Dru Smith is 28 years old. He missed 45 games with that knee injury. The Achilles injury, he missed 55 games. Dru Smith, in his entire 4-year career, has only played 38 total games. Between the 3 years with Miami and the 1 year with Brooklyn, he's played in only 38 games total. That's a very difficult thing for me to say, hey, I know this guy works hard. It's an Achilles, which is the worst injury going in professional sports right now. And saying, that's the guy I want to put on my rotation. Now, if you look at it as I want to use him as an example for Kaspars Giacochonis, this is how you work. This is how you fit in as a professional and go about your business. That I can understand. But you got Davion Mitchell that can do that.
Yeah. I mean, Spo's going to use the two of them together, isn't he? He's going to use Mitchell with Dru, right?
I mean, I can see lineup combinations where he does that, but again, I need to see this. I need to see this in a 5-on-5 game. What does it look like in a 5-on-5 game coming back from an Achilles like that for a guard? And it's not like one of these big, tall, rangy players that uses their length to get their shots off and to defend. I mean, you got to really get in a stance and move your feet to be a point of attack defender.
We're going to see, what we're going to see. We're going to see the Mitchell, Dru Smith, Powell lineup. We're going to see the Mitchell, Dru Smith hero lineup. Our guy Eternal couldn't join on the podcast today, but he just made a very good point on Off the Floor. The Heat have a front court depth problem.
Yes.
They find another guard, right? That 15th spot has got to go, if they use it, has got to go to a front court player. You cannot go into the season. We haven't talked about this today. Jovic looked terrific again playing. By the way, Larson looked terrific playing for Sweden. So the Heat's players are playing very well for their international teams. Because Powell had 34 the other night. They look good. The progress you want to see from Larson and Jovic seems to be happening in those environments. Yes. And Larson, by the way, Larson is a guard too. And Tyler is a guard too. And Powell is a guard too. This is the most guard heavy room I've ever seen from them. They just, it's interesting. And
if you just break it up into wings, Jaime Hawkins Jr., he's a wing also. And Wiggins. Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying, like, as far as bigs go, they have 3.
That's it.
They have 3, and one of whom, again, looked great. He had 22 points or 23 points or whatever, Jovic. But you don't want him playing like a big. You want him playing, more out on the perimeter space. The thing that jumped out about Jovic, and we'll do this on another episode. I watched some of the highlights today. I didn't get to see the game live, but he made 4 threes. But he also had 4 attacks that led to free throw attempts.
Right.
And he finished 2 of them. And that, to me, is he's the X factor for them this season. I'm sticking to that. But they need to get another big, like somewhere they got. And look, Keyshawn Johnson is one of them. And we haven't even seen him play in anything that matters, right? We've seen him in Summer League. I've seen him play at Miami Pro League. And we've seen him play in the G League. But we haven't seen him play in circumstance that matters. I don't know how you can trust that yet. So anyway, Adel, appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on here. Dru Smith re-signs. We knew he'd be back. He's going to outlast all of us. He's going to end up being the new UD, but hopefully not another injury. And again, happy for him. Seems like a great guy. And I would not wish what he had to deal with the past couple of years on anybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon.